Hello, everybody, and welcome back to M&J Games. I am Michael, and I'm really excited today as I am joined by somebody whose coaster opinions I really respect. And I am here with Northern Rides, who, you do a lot with No Limits. So I'm really excited to have you join me for this coaster spotlight.
I'm very happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me. This is gonna be really cool.
Of course, yeah. So this is a creation. I've spotlighted one by this creator before, but this is just a sandbox park that contains three different types of coasters. And the creator is Astro underscore King 808. And so there's three coasters in here. One of them's a motorbike, which now that does go upside down, so that would be quite an interesting inversion to see in real life, right?
Yeah,
But
it looked cool. So yeah,
yeah, and I just love the realism aspect put in here. So what are your initial thoughts before we begin?
I mean, I'm already seeing a little bit of previewing here, so it already looks very pretty. It looks like the coasters are put down in their little oasis, so
Mhm.
to speak, and I'm very intrigued. I'm intrigued to see the layouts and the smoothness and so on.
Yes, totally agree. And so to get started here, we're looking at this, and I know you said you used to play Planet Coaster some, but we can't do switch tracks. So one thing that I love
Hmm.
about what this creator does with some of his is he's able to kind of incorporates the fact of it having one of those spikes, but we can't actually utilize it. But it's still really cool that he takes the time to kind of incorporate that in the ride.
Yeah, I love when people try to break the game's rules with layouts. That's like my favorite thing.
Yes, totally agree. And now I know when we talked before, you said you hadn't played in a while, but you did used to play Planet Coaster some, or
Yeah, I played a little over 2 years ago, and then my computer literally couldn't handle it anymore, and so I switched to No Limits because that doesn't take as much power, and now I'm just too used to No Limits to go back.
yeah, I totally agree. I recently started playing No Limits, which, by the way, watched your tutorial video on a lot of it, and that really helped. The
So,
Yeah, the difficulty getting started, there's a lot to it, but man, can you create some smooth coasters. Um,
thank you.
yeah, and now I love the little design right here, just making little trash bins. I think that's a cool way to make it, just using basic art shapes, and looks like maybe the back of one of those TV wall stands. But what are your thoughts of kind of the views of this coaster?
Well, like you, I totally agree that I really like the small details here and there. The added realism, like adds so much to it, and I am in love with this color scheme. I have something with gray and yellow put together like this. It looks so good. And look, I mean, the transfer tracks here, or the garages, storage rooms here,
Hmm.
really nice detail as well. That's something I've never bothered to make myself, but I should, because it's such a cool detail. And I
Yeah.
see the lockers as well. Really nice.
Yeah, totally agree. And real quick, as we look at these stats, so G-force is getting up there on the verticals for sure, but it's a smaller coaster using the Intamin style train here, and we'll talk
Yeah.
to you after the coaster. So it's definitely a shorter layout, but what are your thoughts on the kind of design of the coaster?
Yeah, it's short but sweet. But something I immediately noticed was the small details with the launch and the trim brakes after the top hat. Really nice. Or not,
Mhm.
well, on the bunny hill right there. And the way it goes around in the tunnel and then the station is really nice, and it manages to definitely pack a punch. I mean, we saw the G forces and the PV, so I mean, if a coaster's short, as long as it packs a punch, then it's good, and this definitely does.
Yeah, and some people complain when coasters are too short, like for example, Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City, some people would like not have it
Hmm.
as high on their list because the ride time is only like 35, 40 seconds. But I'm with you. I'm
Yeah,
like, man, if it is intense for the entire ride time, who cares how short it is? Like, what matters is the intensity. And this is one of
yeah.
those that, like you said, would pack a punch the whole time. And I just love this backstage and the fact that he's got some animatronic workers looking like they're actually utilizing the power boxes and stuff.
Yeah, and the wheel moving as well. for the dynamics and so on.
Hmm. Yeah, one thing he could add there is actually adding some footers when it's in the water like that. As you know, in real life, since this guy obviously is really trying to go for the realism aspect, you would have to have some sort of concrete footers
Yeah, I
in the
agree.
water.
I didn't notice that before you said it, but yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and I was trying to get I don't know what I was doing with the camera right there a second ago, but yeah, trying to get a little view of that kind of switch track that goes into place. And now we're moving on to the second one, which is a little more intense of a motorbike coaster, probably.
Yeah, this is the one I'm most excited to see. When we looked at the preview, this looks so
Hmm.
cool.
Yes, and it's like that launch doesn't necessarily look that forceful, but the whole layout afterwards looks really cool. And I just love I think like my favorite look of track has got to be the newer style Vekomas with just that thick beam underneath the triangular
Yeah,
cross ties. Like it just gives such a good look.
yeah. So this is the track type of still not the absolute newest Vekoma. These are some of the older motorbikes, but they're almost the same as new Vekoma.
Okay.
I sometimes notice details that other people don't because I'm a huge nerd, but but it looks so good, this track and the color as well.
Right. Yeah, and kind of like you're saying, noticing details. Last night for fun, I was just because I want to try to make um, one of the newer style Vekomas. It's got some of the really quirky kind of like shaping to it. And so I was
Yeah,
placing down different track that had that tubular track, and it's like if you look really closely, like there's one of the launch coasters that's the one that can do like the loop, and then the thing goes on top of the loop. So it's I forget the name of it in game, but it looks like it's the same track.
yeah. I guess it is. Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at the track, it actually, and we'll talk through this one, but if you look at the track, the triangular cross tie portion is different. So you can tell that it wouldn't look truly like a Vekoma model.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant with it has the same track type as real life Vekoma motorbikes, but the difference between this and brand new Vekoma loopers is the cross beams are a little more flat on the new ones in real life.
Okay. Yeah. And once again, another coaster that's pretty short, but definitely looked to pack a punch. So what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, again, I totally agree. It was a really cool little layout, and I think the beginning a motorbike coaster with a top hat is really pretty kick ass, and I think the corkscrew was executed very nicely. It reminds me a lot of the one on Phoenix at Foab Summerland,
Hmm.
um, and again, Outer Bank Hills can't go wrong with that. So really really nice.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that coaster because you're actually from that area, right?
Yeah, I'm from Denmark.
From Denmark, right? Yeah. So that coaster is one that to me just looks awesome. Like,
It is.
definitely one that's on my bucket list at some point.
Yeah, it's just so fun and fluid. It's so rapid fire and fast. I love that ride.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's one thing that I hope within the next 10 to 15 years in America that we see as we move on to the next one, which um, is I hope that we see more advancement with the newer Intamins and the newer Vekomas. Because here in
Mm.
America, it's like B&Ms are really good and like RMCs are amazing, but like Intamins are unreliable for the most part. And the Vekoma, we don't have any of the newer Vekoma coasters other than like the motorbike coaster at the Hagrid's one. Um, so it's like we're missing out on those newer intense style Vekomas that just look awesome.
Yeah, yeah. You're getting your first one at Coderland here soon with the tilt coaster, which looks
Hmm.
so cool. It looks like such an awesome layout. But I also hope you get more of them around. I could see some parks getting them as well.
Agreed. Isn't Energylandia supposed to be getting a tilt coaster as well?
Yep, they are, and it's basically their third of the new gen into no sorry the new gen Vekomas. They're
Yeah.
packing them.
There's a possibility it might be getting there next summer, which that's awesome. So this is the track I was actually talking about before, because if you actually look at the triangular cross ties, they're not completely solid. They've actually got a triangle looks like carved out of it for where the track goes through, and so you could
Yep.
tell that this is just obviously not a true Vekoma track if you were wanting to use this as a Vekoma track. Um, yeah, but layout looks really cool as well.
Yep. So this is the This is the premier track. It's like the same model as Full Throttle in Six Flags Magic Mountain.
Okay.
Which is basically, you know, a really cool coaster. It also has that loop with the track on top, like you mentioned earlier. I always really like this track type. It looks so odd, but so nice at the same time.
Yeah, it does. Because I was trying to figure out what model that was. For some reason, I was thinking like, I forgot about Premiere, but I was thinking, is it SNS maybe? Yeah, Full Throttle Magic Mountain. Now that you mentioned that one, I do remember that one.
Yeah, but I agree that SNS track can look very similar. The one on Steel Curtain at Kennywood has pretty much the same track type, so it makes sense to think SNS.
Yeah. Sure. Now that is the end of this coaster, and what are your thoughts about that one?
Well, this one had a lot of airtime, so I like this one a lot. Something I really took notice here was the ending with the overbank / cutback inversion. You know, the final turn before the brake run it's a really cool way to end the ride. It's kind of like Millennium Force, but it's almost inverting. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, the fact that it launches both forwards and backwards, is so awesome.
I agree. I just imagine sitting in the back seat on this ride, at hang time that you'll get when you're basically upside down, even though you're not quite. That's got to be such a cool experience. And this is like, it's very similar to the previous one, but it seems like it does have more like true airtime hills. But then also adding in the backwards launch is creating it to where it's a different style ride than the other ones.
Yeah, it makes it more different. It also had that outer bank wave turn before the final turn, where it's almost 90-degree banked outwards, which looked really nice as well.
Yeah, I do agree with you about that wave turn there. And now as we're kind of looking at an overview of all the coasters, as we're back at the motorbike, which of the three do you feel like you thought was, did you enjoy the most?
I think I enjoyed the motorbike the most for the ingenuity. I thought it was really just like, you know, the evolution of something that already exists, and so I really liked it for that. But the first one was also just so satisfying in a way to watch, and the final one was also really cool. I mean, I don't know, I can't choose to. I think the motorbike was my favorite.
Right. Well, because they're all so different, and that's one thing that is so unique about it is everyone was designed and they're all launched, but they all do something different that makes it hard to kind of pick and choose one. I would say for me, it's probably the third one. I mean, I do think like the ingenuity on the motorbike, like that corkscrew that it has, and like it's not going super fast through it, you know, like that would be something really cool to see. But I just think the backward launch and having that, like you said, that almost inversion turnaround there, just kind of adds to it. And so now as we take a look at night, yeah, definitely like the blue lighting.
Yeah, it was same. It gives me like a pool vibe, you know. I love that.
Yeah, very tropical feeling. Yeah, and so in terms of,
So beautiful.
yeah, it is for sure. So now we just got about 20 or 30 seconds left. So any final thoughts?
Well, other than the coasters themselves are really cool, I just really like the, you know, this details with the pathways and the ground below the coasters and the palm trees and all that. I think it's you know, it's an all one oasis and it looks really cool. I was really impressed.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Northern Rides, for joining me. Make sure to go check out his channel, and I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day.